What's been the kind of collective mood of the players over the last day or so?
Obviously you never want to lose to your main rivals, and you just want to win those kind of games. So yeah, obviously the mood's down a little bit, but we've got to focus on the next few games we've got coming up.
How are you viewing the situation now? Do you use what happened as a group as a motivation moving forward?
Yeah, you just, like I said, we want to focus on the next 7 games we've got and try to win those games.
Is it easier, having watched on much of the game at the weekend, to take something from it, because there was a lot to take from it in terms of the performance, albeit the result wasn't there? Is there something you can grasp to move into the games ahead?
Yeah, definitely the boys battled well, and I thought we played well. Probably should have got more from the game, but we didn't, so we just got to pick ourselves up and focus on the next games.
How would you describe your experience of the game?
Myself? Obviously I didn't start the game, but coming on obviously was a great feeling, and hopefully I can play many more games like that.
In terms of your development as a player, how much did that help you, that experience of a Celtic Rangers game?
Yeah, it's a big thing. The atmosphere is crazy. Big rivalry, so yeah, I can use that kind of stuff from my experience for the future.
Looking forward to more of those in the future?
Yeah, definitely.
Glenn, a lot of the focus has been on what happened at the final whistle. You were involved. What did you make of what happened?
Adrenaline's high, not much more to say about it.
Stephen, what has been the overriding message to the players in light of the weekend, but also in terms of what lies ahead of you now, between now and the end of the season?
Yeah, I think for myself and the players, it's just important that we reset and refocus on what's in front of us. In football, whether you're on the back of a high or a low, it's important you move on very quickly. So after the defeat against a rival, it's nice to have a game pretty quickly to refocus, and we have the chance to hopefully get a good performance and a good win against Hearts and get the feel-good factor back. So yeah, that's been the message to the players, get out the system as quick as you can and focus on the next challenge.
I don't expect you to tell us what you've said to him, but how is Alfredo?
He trained well yesterday. He done the full session, and there was no issues. I think he has showed remorse and accepted the punishment I've gave him as representation. We've spoke to them as well, so everyone's on the same page, and now it's just a decision for the club and the people above me to decide where the fine goes to. But Alfredo's accepted it, showed remorse, and he's apologised. I think he put that public himself, which I think was the right thing to do, and we draw a line under it. Now moving forward, we hope Alfredo learns the hard way, and we wait now for him to return to help us in the final push.
I was going to say, I guess there's a balance to strike, isn't there? Because there's the human being there as well. He's a young lad, far away from home. You've got to treat him in a certain way, make sure he's okay as a person moving forward as well.
Players have been in, other players that I've played with and around the world have been in similar situations to Alfredo, and with experience and with time they learn and they improve the disciplinary, and we sit here and hope that that's going to be the case with Alfredo. We hope he learns from it and comes back and improves that side of his game, because if he does, he will be regarded as a top player. If he doesn't, he's at big risk that people's opinion of him won't change.
In terms of the reaction, the follow-up to the weekend, some of the Celtic players have obviously been posting messages, kind of celebrating the victory, which is fine and is allowed. Yeah. Some of it has expanded out. We've seen Scott Brown post something, little fishing symbols, I think, sort of intimating that your players took the bait.
That's all part and parcel of being involved in the old firm. Celtic are entitled to celebrate the supporters, the club, the individual players. It's fine. We haven't got a problem with that at all. We're on the other end of it this time. There's one more old firm left that we're looking forward to, and we need to make sure that the result of that game is different to the one where we've just recently been involved in now. I've got no problem with Celtic celebrating.
Do you tell your players to ignore it, or do you say soak it in, see everything that's been put out there and use that as a...
I know what I'd do. But we'll wait and see how my players, what they do and how they react from it. We'll see that on Wednesday night first and foremost. But for me, it's important that they focus on Hearts and what's the next challenge, because we can't really control what's going on in social media or other people's reactions or how they celebrate. You can't really control that side of it. All you can do is look in, soak it up, accept it and move on and look to the next challenge. But remember it.
Stephen, you said after the game that you could understand why Andy Halliday did what he did. Do you think in terms of Alfredo and Ryan in those situations, were they a bit naive to react the way they did?
Look, I've spoke about all the incidents on the pitch. I've spoke about them in the media conference. I'm not sure whether you were there. Was you there? No? Okay. I think I've addressed everything that went on in the game on the pitch. I've addressed everything that happened around the game. Now, for me, it's important to draw a line and move forward and focus on the next 7 games.
When you are moving forward, then another thing you did say was that you've tried to help Alfredo as much as you can. Yeah. Can you give us an insight into what that actually involves?
One-to-one chats with him, with his people, showing him his behaviour, showing him examples of other people that have had similar situations, myself included, being there for him, for himself to talk and ask, and using his close friends and allies in the team. I'll continue to support and help him. He's still our player, he's still a top player, he's still got an awful lot to offer this football club. But at the weekend, I had to be firm and stamp down, and I think he understands that. I think the other players in the dressing room understand that. I think it needed it, and we've addressed it and we move on.
Do you think that some form of professional help out with the club could help him? When people are talking about, has the lad got issues with anger management? Could a psychologist help? What's your take on that?
I'm no expert in making them decisions. I think if Alfredo himself thought he needed that, we'd be there to support him and help him in any single way, shape or form. But things like that, if it was the case, would always remain private and in-house, and that's the way it'll stay.
You said yourself there, Steve, about examples of yourself. Showed them. Can you empathise with them when you were around the player? In
certain situations, you can empathise with any individual. You know, the heat of the moment. It's an emotional game. There's a lot at stake. For the supporters, for the players, for everyone involved. So people make mistakes. People are human. It does happen. Not just in this game. In any game where it's tense and emotions are running high. But when it happens as regular as it has, then of course you've got to do what you think's best for the individual, for the team and the club, and that's what I've tried to do.
Can I ask you what you did to kind of sort that out for yourself?
I had a good look in the mirror. That's the first thing you've got to do. You've got to basically accept your own actions and be responsible for them, and you've got to think of other people. So the first thing Alfredo's got to do is think about his teammates, think about what his teammates have got to go through without him. Think about what the supporters have got to go through when the best player or the top scorer has got to leave the pitch with many minutes left, and then the supporters can't watch Alfredo for 4 games. So I think what you've got to do is you've got to think of other people, and you've got to take ego and stuff out of it and think of others.
With the cap,
I'm not sure if you address the Ryan Kent situation after the game. I can't remember, but have you seen it again? Ryan Kent?
I've got nothing to say on the Ryan Kent. Ryan Kent was magnificent in the game, best player on the pitch in my opinion. Thought he was outstanding. It's a shame that his goal and his performance, we couldn't take nothing from the game, because I think Ryan's performance deserved that. I'm delighted with Ryan Kent. I've got nothing else to say about it.
With the gap now being 13 points, what have you said to the players as the aim now for the rest of the season?
Just win as many football matches as we can. We've got seven games left, 7 good games, 2 obviously before the split. So we've got 2 in the next 4 or 5 days. We need to try and react, and use our frustration and our disappointment from the old firm and try and use that in the next couple of games. Then we get a bit of a break. We missed the weekend after. And then obviously we've got 5 very exciting games in the split that we need to focus on, and we need to try and take as many points as we can. And then we analyse the season as a whole from there.
What are you expecting from Hearts tomorrow?
We've played them a couple of times and they've been aggressive, they've been positive, they came to Ibrox to try and win the game. It was the same when we went to Tynecastle. You know, they're a big physical team who are aggressive, and I mean that, you know, both in and out of possession. You know, they come to try and win and play, and we expect the same. We had people watch their game against Aberdeen, and you know, they've got some threats within there, and they've got a way of playing that's efficient. So we expect a good Hearts team.
Do you find yourself with a bit of a problem at left back with Andy being suspended and Borna Barisic? Is he still injured?
Of course. If you're missing 2 players in the same position, of course it's a bit of a concern, but thankfully that's one area of the pitch where we've got enough cover and enough options to cope without them too.
Stephen, I don't know if you saw the comments from the Scottish Police Federation chief. He said that players have a responsibility for how they conduct themselves on the pitch, because it could have an impact of what happens away from the pitch. Is that a fair comment?
I think so, to a certain degree, of course. I think we all have a responsibility for fan safety, and you know, what we do from the side or on the pitch obviously can affect what goes on in the stands and around the game and stuff. Of course, we have that responsibility. But on the other side of it, I don't know a police officer who's ever played in an Old Firm game, so I'm not sure they really understand the emotional side of it for both sets of players, for coaches. So yeah, to a certain degree, I totally agree with it, and we all have to take responsibility for that. But at the same time of it, police officers have never played in an Old Firm, so they need to understand from the players' point of view that sometimes, you know, these games, it's very tough. It's very tough out there, and decisions you make, sometimes you get them right, sometimes you get them wrong.
Yeah, ahead of every game there will be a police officer visiting both clubs to remind the players. Is that almost like futile for that to happen if in the heat of the moment you can't control that?
No, I think both sets of players and clubs were all aware of the responsibilities we've got, and we all go out there with the intention to do our best and make sure that all the fans are safe and everything's perfect. But it's an emotional game. Things happen out there that sometimes you can't control. That's just the way it is. I don't think that'll change because there's so much at stake in these games. But it doesn't just happen here. This is every big emotional game around the world.
Yeah, and just one final question from me on Alfredo. Obviously, depending on how the fixtures fall, come the split, if the next Old Firm game comes after his 4-match ban, would you A, have any qualms in playing him, and B, is this going to be the litmus test to see how he has reacted to this latest discussion?
Well, I think it's a very difficult question to answer just now, because first and foremost we've got 4 games to play before he's available, so I think we focus on them games first. If the team win and people are scoring goals, then that'll affect my decision. If the team don't win and we're not scoring goals, it'll affect my decision. So I'll make that decision when I have to make that decision. At the moment, he's not available for us, which is a shame, but it's life. We have to get on with it without him. But you know, it's an opportunity for someone else to come into the team and score goals.
So it's not a shoe-in that he'll just get back into the team?
Is it a bit of a concern with the way the team have played without him? They've not really hit their sort of full stride when he's not been in the team.
Well, the team were excellent without him for, 60 minutes against the best team in the league. The players were outstanding, so for 60 minutes without him and without another body, we proved we're better than the best team in the league for 60 minutes or for 55 minutes. So that's probably just a mental thing in my opinion. I think we've got more than enough quality, more than enough players with experience for us to get by without him. Of course, we'd love him available. He's a top player. You want all your best players available, but the reality is he's not, so we have to cope without him.
Just on Kyle Lafferty, was that just a squad decision, couldn't get in?
Squad decision, yeah.
Is that something you've had a chat with him about, just to try and...
Yeah, I always talk to my players. My door's open all the time. Sometimes they come in to see me. Sometimes I ask them for a chat. All the players in the dressing room have had enough opportunities, enough chances. They get opportunities every single day to impress and play. And I play the players who I think, or I pick the players I think are the best to get the job done. A lot of that comes from training. A lot of it comes from games. A lot of it comes from stuff on and off the pitch. So I don't think there's anyone in that dressing room that can point fingers in terms of getting opportunities.
And can I ask, was that Kyle that asked for the conversation with you, or did you?
I've spoke to Kyle a lot, and it's different. Sometimes he comes to see me, sometimes I have to see him. It's not just one occasion or two occasions where he's asked for one, I've asked for one. I've spoke to Kyle a lot.
Any bumps and bruises from the game?
No. I think everyone's fine. Come through the Old Firm fine.